Welcome into another town video. In this one, we're going to be talking about Westminster, Massachusetts. This Westminster video is going to follow a very similar pattern compared to the Leominster video I did in the last week or two. It's going to be kind of the same, talking about the same categories. We're going to be doing an overview of Westminster. We're going to be talking about Westminster versus the surrounding towns. We're going to dive into what there is to do in Westminster. And last but not least, we're going to talk about the real estate market in Westminster because I think it's very critical that people have knowledge of the market that they want to end up living in. So without further ado, we're going to jump into the overview of Massachusetts. I'm going to kind of talk about how many residents there are, how many people live there, just like what is in the town, what to expect if you wanted to move to Westminster, because you might be watching this in Montana for all I know and want to move to Central Mass. So I'll give the brief overview of the town. I won't try to bore you. We're going to start with just kind of what town Westminster is. If you've watched my Leominster video, Leominster, I talked about how it was more of a suburban with areas of rural or woodsy areas. Westminster is basically just all rural and woodsy. It's a very quaint town. It's definitely a New England style town. If you drive through the center of Westminster, it just has that vibe to it. If you're driving through Westminster in the middle of January after a snowstorm, it gives you kind of like a Hallmark movie feel, Christmas Hallmark movie feel. And some people love that. A lot of people love that actually. But that's kind of what you get with Westminster. There's a lot of places in the town that have a lot of acreage. A lot of homes have quite a lot of acreage or square footage wise in terms of lot size. It really depends on the neighborhood as well and where you're located. If you're looking more towards the center of town, you're going to have less of a lot size compared to other parts of town, which is normal. Westminster, there's currently, well, this is probably a little outdated, but about 8,148 residents living there. So that's the population of Westminster. It's a very tight-knit community. They have a lot of community events in Westminster, which is cool to see. A lot of those small towns, especially in New England, try to do those things. And if you're looking for a town that is tight-knit, Westminster might check off that box for you. And I think another reason why Westminster is becoming more of a popular town with more of an interest in people wanting to live there is because it's right off of Route 2. Route 2 is a major highway route in Massachusetts. It basically goes from Western Mass and emerges into 495 in Eastern Mass. So it merges into 190 going towards Worcester and south. So it's a major route. I don't know what you call it, but it's a major route. Wherever you are in Westminster, you're basically within 10-15 minutes of that highway at the max if you're living in town. The thing with Westminster though, there's no legit grocery store. There's like a country store in the center of town, but there's no like massive store like a Big Y or a Whole Foods, nothing like that. You got to travel probably 12 to 15 minutes to find a grocery store, depending what side of town you live in. I know Gardner, which is right next door. We'll talk about Gardner a tad bit coming up. They have a couple grocery stores. Leominster, which I talked about in the last video, has various grocery stores. So that's right off of Route 2. So you got plenty of options around you. I don't think it's like a game changer not having a grocery store in a town like that, especially if you're looking for quaint. Yeah, you just got to do a little traveling. It's not like it's like 45 minutes away. It's 10-15 minutes max. One thing that attracts many people to Westminster or just to go visit the area is Mount Wachusett. Mount Wachusett is a mountain in central Massachusetts that you can ski and snowboard at. It's one of the bigger mountains in Mass. We don't have a whole lot of mountains in Mass, so it's one of the more popular destinations to go skiing and snowboarding. In the area, a lot of people travel from around the state to go there because, like I said, there's not a whole lot of skiing and snowboarding mountains in the state. If you go up to New Hampshire and Vermont, obviously you got plenty more options, but we don't have that luxury. So that's another major attraction. And I want to wrap up the overview section talking about the restaurants. Westminster, like I said, it's a small town. It's quaint, but they do have various restaurants. I think there's about 5 to 6 restaurants. I only go to a couple of them myself personally because I live in the general area. But they got the Old Mill, which is a classic restaurant. It's not a franchise or anything like that. It's just it's a New England style restaurant. That's gonna be the theme with some of these towns I'm gonna be talking about over the coming months. Is a lot of them just have a New England feel to them, and this restaurant has a New England feel to it. I think it was built in 1783, and they've restored most of it. It's been open for as long as I can remember. I don't think it's ever been closed in my lifetime for anything. I mean, it's always been a popular destination. It's got a lot of land. People have weddings there. There's like a nice little duck pond outside that you can go feed the ducks and whatnot. So you got that. There's a brook running through, not through the restaurant, but on the outside of the restaurant. You have to cross a couple bridges to get over the brook and into the restaurant. So it's a really cool scene. You got a seafood place that has delicious seafood called the Angler. You got Kay's, which has seafood and ice cream. Blueprint, which is like a bar and grill, tavern style restaurant, and I highly recommend that place. They got great food and great atmosphere. You got a place called the Albatross, which is at Westminster Country Club, which is a golf course, obviously. That's also there. And Washougal Brewery, it's not really a restaurant. I mean, they do have food, but it's the brewery we'll talk about coming up is a major attraction as well. All right, so I don't want to have this video run too long. So Westminster versus the surrounding towns. So Westminster, like I said, quiet. Princeton, I talked about in the Leominster video because that's next to Leominster. Princeton, very similar town to Westminster, but has less residents. It's a very quaint town. It's a very New England style town as well. Gardner, which I mentioned earlier in this video, has a couple grocery stores. That is more of a city. It's got some woodsy parts, but it's more of a suburban style of living. Fitchburg, right next to Westminster, talked about in the Leominster video as well. That's gonna be a common theme as well. That's a city. That's basically a city. There's a couple parts of the city that have woodsy areas kind of secluded from the rest of the city. But for most parts, a lot of city living. Hubbardston, similar to Westminster, is woodsy. It's got about half the population, a little more than half the population of Westminster. That is a very quaint town. They're doing a lot of work in the center of town. They paved it over. They're adding big sidewalks. They're just making it prettier. At the end of the day, it did need some work, need some updates, and they're finally doing that. And gonna be wrapping up soon, I believe. So another quaint town, quiet town. And the Ashburnham, another quaint town, another New England style town. Woodsy, not a city. Has a lot of lakes, many lakes. That's a nice spot as well. So you got various places around Westminster that are similar to Westminster. How much is there to do in Westminster? I've already kind of spoiled a few things, but Mount Wachusett, skiing and snowboarding. Wachusett Brewery, that's a very big brewery in the area. A lot of people travel to go to the brewery on like a Saturday or Sunday because the brewery distributes beers that a lot of people like, and it distributes, I don't know if they distribute across the country. I know it's around New England at the minimum. But it's a very popular brand, very popular beer, and it's a massive restaurant or brewery that has a lot of outdoor seating. They have like live concerts and live bands and whatnot as well for entertainment. So that's an attraction for many people. That's something to do. 2 golf courses in town, Westminster Country Club and Westminster Woods. I personally play Westminster Country Club. That's my course. And it's a nice course. Needs some update. It needs some improving. I think that they're a little short on staff in recent years. I mean, who isn't since COVID? But Westminster Woods, I've never played there. I heard it's a very hilly course. So if you're into golf, you got a couple of golf options. And you also got another golf course in Gardner, which is right next door. That's a nice course. That's a municipal course. So you got a couple golf courses in the area if you're big into golf. A few ponds and lakes. You got Wyman's Pond or Lake. Is it a pond or a lake? I forget. But that's a nice sized body of water. A lot of people go there for boating and jet skiing. So you got that going on. Peace and quiet. If you're not looking for the hustle and bustle of everyday life or out near a city, Westminster might be the town for you. I want to wrap up this video talking about the real estate market in Westminster. And I think it's critical that you have this information because the market is constantly changing. Every town is different from the other. There's gonna be a common theme over the coming months when I'm doing these individual town videos. The inventory, so we're gonna talk about the inventory first. This is up until August 8th, the data, by the way, so it's a little old. It's a little older by the time you're watching this video. Inventory leading up to August 8th, 2022 was 143 units in the prior 12 months, so August 2021. August 2023, 115 units compared to from August 2022 to August 2023. 115 units. That's a decrease in about 20% in inventory. That is common pretty much everywhere. So that's no surprise there. Home sales, a lot of people get confused with home sales and home prices. Home sales is different from home prices because home sales is measuring the number of homes that were sold. It's not talking about prices here. It's the number of homes that were sold and closed. Home prices is home prices. This is weird. So home sales up until August 2022 is 47. This year is 51 up until August, from August 2022 to August 2023. So it's been an increase in 4 home sales, which is about 8.5% increase since August of last year. That was interesting. The average sale price, this is where people get confused. Like the home sales, people get confused thinking that's talking about price. So up until 2022, August 2022, $550,000 was the average sale price in Westminster, roughly about, I think I rounded up slightly. 2023, up until August of last year to this year, a little over $601,000, about $51,000 increase from August 2022 to August 2023. That is about a 9%, a little over 9% increase in the last 12 months, which, I mean, that's going on in many places. It's a little more than the state average right now. I think the state average is like 5.8% increase, but this is 9.3% increase. Average list price has gone up 7.4% in the last 12 months. Average list price up until the previous 12 months from in August 2022 is $545,000. The last 12-month period up until present day, 585,000 and a half. So there's been that 7.4% increase. So the moral of the story for the real estate, going over the real estate market, is that it's a pricier town. I'm not gonna brush that under the rug. It's a pricier town. It's more of a high cost of living there, but it's a beautiful town. If you're looking for beautiful, you're looking for quaint, you're looking for access to major routes and have some stuff to do, but not like nothing to do, Westminster's a great spot. Central Mass, it's great, depending on your style and your taste. So moral of the story, if you have a decent budget, Westminster and some of the surrounding towns would be probably appealing to you. I can help you out with that. Just reach out down below. Go into the description to find my contact info, and you can reach out to me. We can talk some business and what your goals are. But yeah, I had this video. This ran way too long. I'm gonna try to cut down the next video by a couple minutes, but thank you so much for tuning in. If you need any help, like I said, check out the description down below, and I look forward to seeing you on the next town video.